Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to a good socially distanced episode of Out of My Mind. It's all about following the CDC guidelines around here. Who am I kidding? We know better than that. Welcome back into another episode of the Out of My Mind podcast, presented by yours truly, Jake Beckley. This one is long overdue, so sorry for the wait. I want to start out with a couple of quick shout outs. First off, got on the fresh patriotic state t-shirt courtesy of the Hodge Twins. You can only get it at officialhodgetwins.com. Unfortunately, I'm not sponsored by them. Working on that. Got some DMs in the works on that. We'll see what happens. But go check out the Hodge Twins stuff. You can thank me later. Second shout out is to the boy, Connor Jones, for this fresh The Stage hat. My favorite live music joint in Music City. Absolutely love it. So thanks to Connor for that. Thanks to Bass Pro for the land of the free, home of the Brave Cup, keeping my ginger ale nice and cold on this Saturday morning. And then the last shout out is to y'all and everybody who has been texting me over the past month and a half, however long it's been since I released the last pod. Hit me up, when's it coming out, Jake? Come on now, do another one. So I appreciate y'all in your endeavors to get me to do another one. So here we are, long overdue. Let's get into it. All right, Jake, what have you been up to? Why haven't you filmed recently? Well, working third shift. Been working and sleeping a lot. For anybody considering working third shift, do not do it. It is awful. Destroys your social life and your sleep schedule. Anybody who's close to me will tell you that I can be difficult to get a hold of at times, which is very unlike me because normally I'm pretty accessible, but been sleeping a ton. Also been playing ball, getting back into it, getting back into shape, having a lot of fun with that. Always good to be back on the court. So my body at times is not thankful for it, mainly because I continue to decide to take charges and slide in the way of my brother, who is about 80 pounds heavier than me, when he goes to the lane. It's just a thing I'm going to do. It's a brother thing. It's a pride thing. Not going to let him just get a free trip to the hole, but my body is not happy with me usually after. So let's go ahead and get into this. A lot has happened since the last pod. One of the biggest things, the most recent thing that I want to cover is Rush Limbaugh. He's the voice of my childhood when it comes to talk radio. I think a lot of y'all probably feel the same way. I can remember growing up and hearing the EIB network theme song playing, the radio background music all the time through the house, in the car with mom and dad. Just thinking, here we go again. When I was young, I didn't understand it, but looking back, and then when I started listening to him, once I got to the age where I understood what was going on, I mean, what a tremendous influence, an absolute icon, a trailblazer. I mean, he kept AM radio alive, paved the way for pretty much every talk show host on radio to date. Whether or not you agree with his politics, there just absolutely is no arguing the fact that he's the best to ever do what he did. An absolutely incredible broadcaster, brought facts, brought the truth, said what he had to say, said how he felt, never held anything back. He could be abrasive at times, but was an absolutely incredible broadcaster. And for those who knew him, unfortunately I was not amongst those, but for those who knew him, absolutely incredible guy, great philanthropist, would do anything for anybody. And of course, the left vilifies him and says all these terrible things about him. Yeah, did he have the greatest personal life at times? No. Who does? I mean, who really does? I don't think any of us want our lives under a microscope like his was. And then even up until his last year, battling cancer, he stayed on the air, was incredible, fought a valiant fight. Also, and a lot of that time, and people didn't even realize it, for many years towards the end, he was basically deaf. He had the implant, as we saw, it was prevalent when he was at the State of the Union, being awarded the much-deserved Medal of Freedom by President Trump. Melania putting it around his neck. An amazing moment. And he kind of looked confused. That's because he couldn't hear very well. And in big crowds, big rooms like that, it really was rough for him. But Rush was an incredible person in the radio industry and in the politics world, in general. And again, whether you agree with his politics or not, to see how quickly the left jumped out just in absolute nastiness, disgusting hate immediately after he passed. I mean, they were already trampling on his grave before he passed, but then within 30 minutes of his passing being announced, "Rest in Piss" was trending on Twitter, and Dems rushing to just absolutely slaughter him posthumously. And it was absolutely disgusting to see, but that's what you deal with on the left. So no surprise, but still just absolutely disgusting. So rest in peace to Rush. Prayers for his family and friends. And, we truly lost an icon, and he will be missed. And I truly mean that. So, I mean, they even, Florida is flying their flags at half-mast. Shout out to Ron DeSantis, one of the greatest governors ever down there in Florida, showing Rush the respect that he deserves for the over 30 years he spent behind his legendary golden microphone there at the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. So moving on, another thing that people wanted me to cover that I did not, I had it all ready to go and just ended up never filming it. Biden's inauguration. That's a whole other episode. Now we moved on so far past it, I'm not going to do it. But obviously, I have my thoughts on that. It was a very interesting inauguration, to say the least. You had Garth Brooks performing, which was a terrible performance. But, country music Republicans jumped to hate on Garth because he is a staunch Republican, and he didn't perform at Trump's inauguration. But it is what it is. Celebrities are going to do what they want to do. And he said he was reaching across the aisle. Whether or not he was, who knows? That's not mine to judge. So, but then you fast forward into Biden's first few days, first few weeks in office. Man, y'all called Trump a dictator. And then Biden rolls out a record number of executive orders within his first 2 weeks, 30-something plus in his first 2 weeks, just signing away, undoing all types of stuff, killed the Keystone Pipeline, costing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of jobs, killing America's energy independence, just shelling money back out to the Middle East, and therefore, of course, jacking gas prices. Just huge stuff that he did just with the stroke of a pen, even on his first day, but especially within those first 2 weeks. So I saw all across Twitter, people saying, Biden voters saying, wow, already regretting my vote. And Republicans saying, we knew we were going to tell you so. We knew we were going to tell you that we told you so. We did not expect it to be this fast. We thought he would kind of peacefully kind of walk in. No, just jumped full bore into it. Wild stuff. And it's going to be an interesting 4 years, if he makes it 4 years. I think that soon enough I'll be doing a podcast on our beloved Kamala Harris becoming the president. I think that's where we're going to be very, very soon. Could be wrong. Probably not wrong on this one. So I had just to call Trump a dictator. I mean, when he signed, I think, 2 executive orders in his first 2 weeks, and then I think Bush signed 0, Obama signed 1, Clinton signed 1, and then Biden's like, hold my Ensure, because that's what he's drinking these days. Hold my milk magnesia. I just, if you voted for Biden, you're probably not watching this. I would venture to guess you're probably not watching this. So I'm probably not talking to you Biden voters right now, but scratching your head on that one. Actually, if you voted for Biden, you're probably in the grave right now. And you rose from the dead, Lazarus style, in order to place that vote. So props to you for coming back in support of your boy Sleepy Joe. Incredible. So move on to a little bit of sports stuff. Jordan Spieth is in contention for the third week in a row. Getting my hopes up that hopefully he can get that elusive tournament win. It's been avoiding him for 3.5 years. He is back in contention at the Riviera in the Genesis Invitational. So should be a good weekend in the golf world. I don't even know why I've got this Louisville blanket hanging up behind me. I mean, the men haven't played basketball in like 20 days because all this COVID crap. Again, I've had COVID and it sucked. It is not deadly for young, healthy individuals, aka Division I college athletes. They might get sick for a little bit. They're probably going to beat it in 3 or 4 days. And it's just not that big of a deal. Play ball. The boys want to play ball. The fans want them to play ball. Just play ball. It's just that simple. I don't get it. We're looking at they may go into the NCAA tournament having not played in a month. A month and a half at that point. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Louisville women can play. So that's been awesome to watch them. They did take the one loss, but Louisville women, I believe, are 20-1 right now, playing great ball, and that's been exciting to watch. The dynamic freshman, Haley Van Lith, has really been holding things down. That chick is tough. So shouts out to Jeff Walls and the Louisville women's program. Bellarmine, first year in Division I, absolutely dominates, putting up big stuff at Freedom Hall, which is really cool to see Freedom Hall get used again. But Bellarmine wins their conference, wins the Atlantic Sun, but for some reason is not NCAA tournament eligible. So I believe it's the first time in history that other than an NCAA rules violation type postseason ban, this is the first time in history that a team who has done nothing wrong can win their conference and not make the tournament. For some reason, I guess because it's their first year in Division I, Bellarmine is not tournament eligible, which is just absolutely bonkers to me. But huge shout out to Scott Davenport and the Knights for an incredible first year in Division I. It's been really cool to see what they've been able to do. Like I said, it's cool to see basketball get played in Freedom Hall again. Good basketball getting played in Freedom Hall. So that's exciting. You got the NCAA bubble. It is extremely cool as an Indiana boy who played ball in Indiana. It is really cool that the entire NCAA tournament is going to be held in the Hoosier State. It just shows, for one thing, it helps the NCAA is headquartered in Indianapolis, but it just shows what basketball is in Indiana, that we had the facilities to host that. I believe it's going to be played at 6 locations in Indiana, up in West Lafayette. I believe that's Mackey Arena where Purdue plays, Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Hinkle Fieldhouse where Butler plays in Indy, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, and then I believe 2 other, Luke Soil, and then another arena in another Fieldhouse type deal in Indianapolis. But the truth is, honestly, they could host it at high school gyms throughout the state. Indiana has 13 or 14 of the largest 15 high school gyms in the country. We have high school arenas that seat more than Division I arenas. I know TCU, their gym holds like 7,000, and Indiana has like 5 gyms that seat 8,000. I mean, that's just crazy to me. It just shows in 49 states it's just basketball, but this is Indiana. It's a whole different deal around here, and it's awesome. So I'm super excited for the bubble. I think it's crazy that this is Kentucky's best chance to have basically a home court advantage throughout the tournament. Kentucky will not be in the tournament. Indiana will not be in the tournament, most likely. And then Louisville will be in the tournament on like a year's rest. That's just it's going to be interesting to see. But that's, like I said, super excited. Just glad to have the tournament back. So, as I mentioned at the start of my show here, this mask deal is getting absolutely out of control. Like I said, I've had COVID. It sucked. It is not worth what is taking place right now as when it comes to masks. It's getting unhealthy. They've shown that they have no clue what they're talking about. They go from mask are unnecessary to mask are necessary. Now you got double mask, triple mask. It doesn't matter what kind of mask, as long as you got a mask on. These things are so ineffective. They're awful for your health. Sitting there breathing all that crap right back into you. As soon as it leaves you, you're breathing it right back in. You got guys like me working manual labor jobs. You got to have a mask over their nose and over their mouth the whole time, can barely breathe, sweating your tail off. And then some supervisor who doesn't do anything but walk around and give orders, constantly telling you, mask up, get your mask up, get your mask up, writing people up for having their mask a little bit below their nose. You come do what I'm doing and tell me you want mask to be on. If the people who are implementing these rules had to do anything other than stand there and talk in their mask mandate would be gone immediately. A number of states have already just said, screw this, we're opening up. Shocking, all of those states have Republican governors. And their numbers are either dropping or staying the same, proving that this crap is ineffective. You want us to mask up and socially distance. Which one is it? I'm convinced that some people will have is just live life like this from here on out, regardless of what happens with COVID, regardless of how many times you get vaccinated. COVID numbers could be 4 people in the country have COVID. Oh, still got to mask up. We're not at 0. Absolutely insane. Once again, it's an attack on your liberties. Is the government seeing how far they can get you to just do what they say? Just blind following. Just sheep. That's what this is. It's just another experiment in what can we get them to do based on no evidence, based on just because we said so. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just going along with it. Well, the CDC has said a ton of things, and it's flip-flop back and forth. And you're just still, doop, 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 little sheep, following along. It's crazy. Speaking of Republican governors, speaking of the great state of Indiana, there's now legislation being pushed through that I think will pass 100%. We may not see it take effect till 2022, but constitutional carry in the state of Indiana. For those of you who don't know what that means you would, as long as you are not a felon, as long as you don't have any violent crimes on your record, and as long as you are not mentally unstable or have a diagnosed mental condition, you can carry a gun, concealed or open carry, without a permit. What are you saying? Oh, well, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you don't have any problems, then why does it matter if you have to get a permit or not? Because what it does is it deters law-abiding citizens from obtaining a firearm because of the red tape you have to cut. It's not an easy process to get your concealed carry permit. It's not. You got to go through another background check. After you've already passed the background check to buy your handgun, you now have to go through another background check, get fingerprinted, pay money out. I think right now it is pretty much free to get a 5-year license. You got to pay a $75 fee to get a lifetime. I think it's basically like $12 at this point, like some processing fees to get a 5-year carry permit. But without having to go through that, cuts through a lot of government red tape, and you get yourself a handgun and strap that bad boy on, and let's go to town. I mean, what it does is it really is just a huge encouragement for everyday citizens, everyday law-abiding citizens, to go ahead and get that handgun, which I think is a huge step, because at the end of the day, it is your Second Amendment right. The Second Amendment says it is the right of the people to keep and bear arms. And that amendment is not given to us really to protect us from each other. It is to protect us from all amendments, both domestic and foreign. Both foreign and domestic. It's really given to you to protect you from your own government, because tyrannical governments take over an unarmed citizenry. So it is your Second Amendment right not to, oh, you can keep a gun as long as you go through this hoop and jump through this hoop and jump through this hoop and jump through this hoop and pay this money, this money, this money, this money. It is, you have the right to own a gun, and you have the right to protect yourself with it and carry it with you on your person. You're like, well, that's an old amendment. That was when everybody had Kentucky long rifles and muskets, and it doesn't matter. Freedom of the press was given way before we had, online newspapers, blogs, news channels. Freedom of speech was given to us way before we had Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat and all that. Is your freedom of speech outdated as well? I don't think so. Freedom of religion, is that updated? We didn't have Scientology and all this new crap, Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. We didn't have all that when the Constitution was written. But you still want your freedom of religion. Well, guess what comes along with that? The freedom to carry a gun. And the Second Amendment was also given to us to protect our First Amendment right. Because as soon as you're an unarmed citizenry, that's when they start to be able to dictate what you can and can't say. They take away your freedom of speech. They take away your freedom of everything because you can't protect yourself. They can come into your house, do whatever the hell they want, and there's jack squat you can do about it. So that's a huge step in the direction of freedom in the state of Indiana. Again, makes me glad we have a Republican governor and Republican local government, because that would not happen in a Democratic state ever. So with all that being, I do have one last topic to address. I forgot to put it in my notes, but it did hit me. Going along with that freedom of speech, people have asked me my thoughts on the Morgan Wallen situation. And here's what I had to say about it. Not condoning what he said. Not condoning the use of the word. But there are certain things about it that it's like cancel culture just jumps at you. For one, he did not use it in a derogatory way. He did not use it directed at a person of color. He was drunkenly joking around with his white buddy, and he dropped the N-word. And on his own property. On his own property. And his neighbor is sitting across the street because Morgan's been in hot water. He's known for some antics. And his neighbor is just sitting across the street filming, waiting on an incident to happen so they can shove it to TMZ. That's exactly what happened. And then cancel culture comes in, and Morgan Wallen's a racist, and if you like his music, you're a racist, and cancel. Take his music off the airwaves. That's, for one, it's just a violation of privacy at the end of the day. We've all said and done things that we do not want on camera. The people who recorded that, I don't think they want their life on a microscope. They don't want to be mic'd up going throughout life on their own property. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just another infringement on your freedoms. Morgan Wallen should be able to shoot him. Hey, stop filming me. Shoot that phone out of your hand. It's ridiculous. The best part about it to me, though, is cancel culture did everything they could to cancel him. And then his fans were like, yeah, that ain't happening. People were going out to the store to buy hard copies of his album just in case iTunes, Apple, and Spotify just in case they took his music off. People were buying hard copies of CDs in 2021. Most of those people's car didn't even have a CD player. Most of those people don't have a CD player, period. Computers don't even have. People were probably buying CD players too and buying a hard copy of his album because they love his music. The album is a banger, as I've discussed previously. So that they said, okay, no, you're not going to cancel him. Did he say a word he shouldn't have said? Yes, but he was on his own property, doing his own thing, minding his own business, and the album is great. And then his record stayed at number one, and all those radio stations put it right back on the radio because they're like, oh, crap, we missed it on this one. And it goes to show what happens when you listen to the what you think is the mob, but it's really the minority. They're just barking louder. Well, that silent majority barked even louder and said, yeah, you ain't canceling this, homeboy. This album is a banger. We're going to crank it. So that being said, apologize for the long wait on this. I appreciate y'all bearing with me. Hope you enjoy this. Hope y'all have a blessed weekend doing whatever it is you're doing. And I love y'all. May God bless you. May God bless America. Thank you for tuning in to Out of My Mind.